This episode was co-produced by Innosuisse, the Swiss innovation agency. Innosuisse supports SMEs, startups, research institutions, and other Swiss organizations in their research and development activities. They offer a range of programs to help you bring your innovative ideas to life. To explore their support offerings and find the right offer for your needs, visit their online guide and take the next step in your innovation journey.
Zurich, where I'm working, you have waiting times at least for weeks and sometimes for 2 months. For our patients, they wait in average 13 hours to get an answer and a prescription if needed.
Welcome to the Sidepreneurship Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. If you enjoy listening to our show, make sure to follow the podcast and leave a rating. And now, here's your host, Sylvan.
Christian, a very well welcome to the Sidepreneurship Show. It's a pleasure to have you as a guest today.
Thanks. Very happy to be here as a guest and looking forward to our conversation.
Same here. You're the founder and medical director at Derma2Go, a provider in the field of digital dermatology. Before we go there and talk about the business that you've built, you're actually a doctor, not surprisingly. But however, after you finished your residency, you decided to get an MBA. I wonder, why was that the right fit or the perfect match to your medical studies?
I mean, I really like being a doctor, being a dermatologist. So that's my passion. That's where I started. That's where I'm still working at University Hospital Zurich as a dermatologist. But I also always liked to accomplish projects and maybe to think a little bit forward. And there was an opportunity in 2017, 18, where I got the chance to see some courses on digital health, on e-health in Lucerne. So that's where I started. I mean, these kind of CAS courses. Right. So I did one course, I did a second course, and in the end, there was a way prepared to actually fulfill the criteria to become an MBA.
Amazing. And then you also became an entrepreneur afterwards, but we see many, not only medical doctors, but in general, people from the scientific field that say, okay, I have a great idea, but I look for someone else to execute on it, to be the operational founder or the CEO. Why did you not decide to hand over your idea to someone else?
I often discuss about on what is the right step to found a company. Is it more like being the economic guy? Let's say was maybe not the deep insights within the field where you would like to found. Maybe get a co-founder on the, let's say, research scientific part. Yeah. Or is it better to get really deep out of where you want to found in my case, the dermatology field, also the dermatology society, and to, get support on the other side. And in the end, I think it's very good if you're, as a founder, coming from the field where you found. And this was what happened in Derma2Go. And maybe just to correct here, it's the idea of Derma2Go was in 2016, 17. So this MBA was not before starting the company. It was, 1 or 2 years later. And it really helped me because you got good contacts. You got some knowledge about how to found a company. All these things I never learned in university on what is sales, what is marketing, what is business development, and how to build a team, how to write a business plan, a pitch deck. And so this really helped. Actually, also, Innosuisse helped me a lot. It's the training, Innosuisse training, Innosuisse coaching. We're still into Innosuisse coaching, now in the scale-up phase, and also some checks. So there were a lot of support, especially in the training in the beginning, where I do remember went to Schlieren 2 times a week, and we had these courses, exactly what I was saying, on sales, on marketing, on business development.
I love that. I think that's a wonderful thing to have, this support from different initiatives and organizations. You actually were a solo founder with your company, with Derma2Go, and many people say this is a really difficult path. It's way harder than having co-founders, etc. I know it's probably hard to say or to compare, but did you sometimes wish you had co-founders, or did it make things more difficult for you being a solo founder?
I think for our company, it's hard to say like how many people found and who is actually a founder, who's a co-founder, who was a very early employee.
Yeah.
So in Derma2Go, for sure, like the original idea and also like the first year of project was set up by myself, and I pushed it also to where it is today. But I had early people accomplishing here, and I had a very good colleague friend until today who supported me in the IT. So IT was very important in the beginning. And I also have a network of dermatologists who supported me from the first day until today in accomplishing the steps that had to be done. If you would ask me, is it good to found alone? However you would define it now for Derma2Go, I don't know. I mean, as you say, like, I might have wished that there are like more people fully into Derma2Go in the very beginning. On the other side, you kind of need to have money for this, at least either to pay salary or at least to pay whatever is needed to live. And if you look on the failure rates of startups in the first 3 or 5 years, what is the main reason?
Co-founder dispute.
Co-founders, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I am where I am, or we are where we are. So it kind of worked out, but still, it's tough. It's hard, and it's not everyone likes to see it. So if you go to investors, for example, like all these VCs with this very young business analysts, right? Just exactly finishing their MBA, and they have a tick box
checklist,
right?
Yeah,
like
of course.
3 founders at least full time. I mean, that's the next thing for me. Like I've never worked full time in the startup. It was a sidepreneurship. That's actually a new trend. Again, like VCs are not too much into sidepreneurs. For me and for Derma2Go, this is the key. So being that close to university, being so close to different hospitals, being so close to dermatology society, and to the daily business, and myself using the platform on a daily basis, having treated more than 10,000 patients by myself. This helped Derma2Go more than having me 100%, and maybe 3 other co-founders where maybe 2 would have already left.
Absolutely, yeah. I want to focus a bit on these early days. There is a legend that has it that you kept getting pictures of people's skin troubles, and they ask you for an assessment or an analysis. Is that sort of where the idea of Derma2Go was born, basically?
I mean, you name it a legend. I would say that's daily life. And that was daily life and still is daily life. I mean, now we have the platform Derma2Go that patients send us medical pictures. If you ask any dermatologist or even any doctor, you would get this answer in the morning when I wake up. Like you get some messages either from a friend, but more and more also from patients by email. I had patients contacting me on Facebook, for example, and wanted to have some follow-up on their, let's say, genital warts. So there was some demand, some interest of patients getting digitally into contact. And on the other side, like there were no technologies yet, like there was no platform in Switzerland, but like you said, you're into software, like theoretically possible.
Right.
So yes, this is kind of where the idea was born, but the idea is actually not a big idea. So it's easy. Like probably 100 dermatologists thought before, let's do it, or maybe also some tried. And that's kind of what I learned. Like when I had this idea, I felt like, okay, so this is the idea. It's not possible to put a patent here. So I have to protect it. But it's not about protecting the idea. It's about like really delivering. So execute. And that's what I've been doing now since several years, like almost 10 years. And that's actually worth or the value behind what happened.
With delivering, you probably mean delivering value to your customers, to your users in that sense, right?
Yeah, and also effort,
of course,
to set something up like this. So in the beginning, you feel like, okay, that's very easy. You need an IT platform. You have a patient, you have a doctor, and he sends pictures and he will answer. But I can tell you, it's not. Like I thought it's just half a year. You just switch it on, and afterwards you just sit there and patients come. It's about the platform. It's about the marketing. It's about getting the right partners on board. It's about all of the ecosystem. It starts then with all the legal topics. Like in the beginning, there is no legal topic because if like there is no similar thing been before, like there are no laws, for example, on this. So you have to understand like what I'm allowed to do, what not. And then laws start to change into the direction, regulatories start to change, medical device regulation, for example, data protection, for example. So you have to follow all these standards, and it's getting more and more complicated, more and more expensive. And yeah, that's from a very easy no-brainer, that was what it was named in the beginning, no-brainer idea, to a certified platform connected to university hospitals, delivery pharmacies, insurance companies. That's kind of the way, not the idea, the way to deliver.
The devil often lies in the details. I think many entrepreneurs had to learn that, but at the same time, they often say, me being a bit naive in the early days was actually a good thing, because otherwise, if I knew all the little details, the legal frameworks and the details I had to figure out, then I might have not even tried it.
For sure. If I would have known what it means, I wouldn't have started. But again, I mean, I'm just repeating what you say. Like, now I'm happy I did, because on this way, I learned a lot, I experienced a lot, and I set up a great network in Switzerland, in Europe, even worldwide. Like, I've been traveling with Derma to Go from Northern Europe to Africa, to Asia, to Saudi Arabia, for example. So it happens so much, and even though like the company wouldn't be successful, like the journey was probably such a good thing for myself, also for my personality, and you only live once. So kind of, I think every experience you make might help you, might be worth it.
Absolutely. When you realize that there's a business opportunity here to really build this platform, make it photo-based, and then get the advice from the doctors in there, what was the problem? Because that people choose this way, of course, it's easier, but you probably also have pretty long waiting periods, I can imagine, to actually see a dermatologist in person. Was that sort of contributing to, hey, we need a digital solution that is a bit more scalable? Or what were the biggest problems that you realized in the market that drove adoption to your platform?
I mean, in the end, it's a product market fit, and I feel like you never find the perfect product market fit.
It never stops.
So you always have to adjust either on usability or on marketing, on your partner's expectations. And for sure, like a big challenge is to make people aware of there is a solution. Right? So my idea in the beginning was, again, like I turn it on and patients just come and come and come, because this is what I experienced, or what's my daily business in the clinic. If you work at University Hospital Zurich, you always have too many patients. Like you have waiting times. Just, I don't want to speak for every dermatologist in Switzerland, but just to name one example, University Hospital Zurich, where I'm working, like you have waiting times like at least for weeks, and sometimes for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. So
that's insane. Yeah.
There are a lot of patients. There is a big need, but still it was a big, and still is a big challenge to get this shift, to guide these patients from waiting 6 months to getting instant an online consultation. And we just had some research on this, and we could show like for our patients, they wait in average 13 hours to get an answer and a prescription if needed.
That's amazing. And in that sense, I wonder, why is it that the waiting period for seeing a physical dermatologist are so long? Do we have too little dermatologists practicing, or just too much demand? Or why is that such a big problem here in Switzerland?
I mean, it's not a big problem in Switzerland. Like, there's a higher demand than we can deliver almost in every country in the world. If you go to Germany, for example, it's even worse. Like, you have some regions, like really regions, where you don't have any dermatologist for 100 kilometers. I mean, the demand is increasing for sure. We can go here in detail. Probably we can make another podcast. It's maybe not about entrepreneurship, because people get older. Mm-hmm. So older people means people with older skin. Older skin got more sun damage. So, for example, skin cancer increases a lot. Yep. And on the other side, we see that, like, these times where dermatologists work like 200% and seeing like hundreds of patients a day, this doesn't work anymore. And so probably patients per dermatologist might decrease. So we also have dermatologists, male or female, who don't work full time anymore, who might also focus more on aesthetics. Yep. So, like, there are different reasons, and there's a lot of good research on this, why we have to offer services like this and why we have to guide patients through the right way. So it's not like we have less patients because of teledermatology and we don't have more, but we just guide them. And for example, in University Hospital Zurich, now we have a hybrid approach. So we see patients first online and then in person. So we can, again, here we have data on this, more or less solve 75 to 80% online. Mm-hmm. And the other 25% we see in-house. If they need a surgery, if they need a complicated treatment or further diagnostic. Yeah. So, but this helps like the patients who do not need to come in person to kind of quickly solve the problem. And the others, they get an appointment earlier because like, it's just 20% of them who actually need to be in-house.
Yeah. It's like a triage system, basically.
Triage, but also for follow-up. So if you have been to our clinic and the doctor decides there is no need like for your acne, for example, to come back after 3 months, just take an online appointment, send in your pictures, and you'll get either more medication, less medication, other medication. Yep. That's possible online as well.
That sounds like a real win-win situation for everyone involved.
Win-win situation,
exactly,
including the platform.
And I wonder, probably the most frequent question you get from people who might have never used your platform is, how can this be enough that you just see a picture and I answer a few questions in a questionnaire and then you can help me? How is that enough to not need the physical examination of the skin?
I mean, if you talk about digitization in medicine or telemedicine, dermatology is the way to go, right? So it's a very visual subject. So I've been trained to become a dermatologist to 5 to 7 years. It's all on pictures, all on visual impressions, and this is what we can see on pictures as well. Like nowadays we have very good pictures with all these iPhones, Samsung. Sometimes I see pictures like better than I would have seen it with my own eyes in person. Not every time, and like sure there are some people who cannot use their cameras, so we have to support these people or they might to come in-house. Mm-hmm. But overall, pictures and the right questions really help us to get a good diagnosis. And it's not only our data, also other companies or other regions show that there's a huge potential.
Absolutely. And what is then your business model behind all of this as a platform? Do you take a cut of the revenue? Does the health insurance pay you because you help also to save money for everyone? Or what's the business model behind this?
There are different business models. Like it's one big business model, but in the end, like different revenue streams to grow as a startup. And it's about the software, and also project-based revenues we generate. But if you want to go to the core, yes, the platform generates revenue per consultation. Yeah. We have costs per consultation on, let's say, credit card, for example, on server, on two-factor authentication. And that's why we charge per consultation. And that's also the scalable business behind.
Makes a ton of sense. And in that sense, can you share some numbers? I read something about a 91% approval rate. What does this very high number actually mean? And do you have any additional numbers that you can share for us?
For us, it's very important. Like I'm science-based medical doctor and not like a marketing tool or marketing guy. So whatever we say in medicine, I can speak for my own, is something I need to have proved. And so all the numbers we show or we talk about, they are scientifically proved. And as I was saying, like we have numbers on how many patients can be solved online. We have numbers on how many patients need a prescription, how many patients have like a mild disease, a moderate disease, severe disease. And like it's recently published, actually. We had a paper published last week on the teledermatology at University Hospital Zurich, showing was maybe a group of 2,200 patients in the end, where we exactly did all of these analyses. And patient satisfaction is something we also measure. This is something where I would say, like, I feel closer to my patient online than in-house.
Oh, crazy.
Like if a patient is not happy with me, in-house, he would not come back after 4 weeks and tell me I wasn't happy with you. He would go somewhere else. I mean, that's okay. If he's not happy with me online, he would just put me a Google review. But also like the platform itself can measure, and that's where we see like we're very high, more than 90% happy patients who would use it again, and also on Google, good reviews. And I mean, that's also what you like to see as a founder, but also as a dermatologist using or offering this service on the platform to have happy patients.
Absolutely. And you said you're a platform, right? So you always have two sides that you have to bring together. You have the patient, obviously. There's also a need, but we can talk about the marketing part there in a second. And you obviously have the doctors, the dermatologists. How did you get them and convince them to join your platform? Was that an easy sell or a tough sell?
I mean, in the end, everything is and was tough. And we try and still work on different approaches. So the classic B2C approach, as you mentioned, like where you need the marketing, that's what we do. But we follow more the B2B2C approach, means like we partner with doctors, with hospitals to use our solution to treat their patients. And this is what works quite well for us, especially with the hospitals like universities, University Hospital Zurich, for example, Munich, like in Germany, Switzerland, other countries, using our platform to treat their patients. And this B2B2C effect, I mean, we see these shifts quite often in also other startups. So you start and spend a lot of marketing money and effort, and in the end you end up on the B2B to B2B2C side. And that's, for us, also a pivot. And at least for now, it feels right.
With that model, do you then still charge per consultation, or do you switch to a completely subscription-based model?
Both.
Okay.
We have different ideas here, and in the end, it has to fit for the doctors, for the hospitals, but still also for us. And so we have a good way here. And I mean, we have contracts with most of the hospitals here, so that also seems to be okay for the hospitals. Yeah.
Great. Because I feel that if you get paid per consultation, you have this classical chicken and egg problem, right? Where you always need to think about in what good ratio do I need to onboard patients, but also doctors to not have too much or too little, because otherwise one side will easily get frustrated. But if you have a subscription-based model, you sell the software, the platform to them, and they take care of their own acquisition.
No, I think very good thoughts,
But do you have like a clear preference? I assume the subscription base is probably more interesting also from a company valuation perspective, I assume.
Yeah, it's a mix. So in the end, like you wouldn't get too much subscription fee if the platform is not used, right?
Of course, yeah.
So you need a good mix here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you do on the marketing side, either to get the patients on your platform or to help your subscription-based customers to activate their customers, so to speak?
Again, both. So that's what we learned. I think we have some good B2C approaches also with partners. And on the other side, supporting our B2B2C partners to use the platform, to also like get their patients guided through this hybrid, as I mentioned, like hybrid care concept.
And what helps you to actually get the users on the platform is the sheer need of the user. Hey, I need a solution fast to my problems, to my dermatological problems. Is that enough to bring them to the platform, or do you have to do, I don't know, like online ads or flyers in the clinics, etc.? What really works to drive?
So I invite you. I mean, we're sitting just next to University Hospital Zurich, just came here, and you will see like it has to be integrated within the workflows. So if you call our clinic, like the first thing that shows up on the voice will say, if you have an instant dermatological problem, use our online consultation.
Nice.
We have flyers in the clinic. We have check the website. So if we're sitting here in Zurich, if you Google online dermatologist, the first what's popping up on Google SEO, SEA is University Hospital Zurich as an example, or other clinics. So you need to integrate this solution, even though there is a big need.
I love that. That's exactly what I was looking for. It's like a multi-channel approach, basically.
Yes.
And one thing you also mentioned in the introduction, you were supported by Innosuisse through multiple coaching programs. You also received 2 innovation checks from them. And I wonder, despite the financial support, but especially also the coaching support, what role has Innosuisse played for you to really help you build and scale your company?
So for me, it wasn't actually the money. But for me, in the beginning, it was especially the training, because this training really helped me from knowing nothing about economy, entrepreneurial steps, to being able to found a company and being able to bring it to where it is right now. So it was a really good approach in bringing successful founders together with like very new people in the field, and very structured on, again, marketing, sales, business development, pitch deck, how to build a team, how to raise money. I mean, that we haven't talked about raising money. So this is where Innosuisse really helped me a lot. And as I remember right, it was also for free. I mean, you had to apply, but in the end you got it for free. And that helps a lot, because if you, I mean, I didn't have any money. So neither for the company, not for gaining knowledge. And if you would, I don't know, going to university to learn this, like, you pay a lot of money.
I love that, because without that support, many companies, including yours, might not see the light of the day.
I mean, you probably get somewhere information nowadays, especially nowadays. I mean, some of these things like AI, GPTs were not available. But it's also about, like, at least getting a frame on what do I need to know. Because if you have actually no idea, you also don't know, like, what do I need to know and what's enough.
Right.
So this really helped. Like, I had a script, and then, okay, if I know this, like, I know how to found a team. I mean, for sure I didn't, but this helped me a lot. And the second thing, like, was the coaching, like going from the initial coaching to the core coaching to the now scale up coaching really helped to, on the one hand side, like having one coach, my lead coach, Aniel, and like also special coaches to help me, for example, with contracts in the beginning, like to understand, like, what kind of contracts do I need, with tax issues. So all these things, like, that show up on every startup's journey, there was an answer. And again, without paying for it, because like paying a lawyer is quite expensive,
especially here in Zurich.
You pay him on an hourly base, and suddenly he spent 2 days. It's a lot of money. So we still do it, and it's good, and we've very good lawyers, I have to say, here as well. But I also like to get support from Innosuisse, especially, again, because they're out of the community.
Absolutely. And you mentioned fundraising. At least the public information that we found, you raised around in 2022, but then actually bootstrapped for quite a long time before deciding to raise money again. I think you're in the middle of raising funds at the moment.
I mean, startups always need money. So if someone is listening to this podcast and is convinced about the idea, always happy to talk. But we're not like this startup that's main character is on how much money they raised. So maybe also a little bit being critical here. So if you go to this LinkedIn community, it might be less now since maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but it was always about, like, how much did you raise? How many people do you have in your company? Right? And maybe how much revenue you make.
But that often they didn't talk about that.
And I would be okay with the revenue, but still, like, nowadays making revenue and getting, like, imagine like getting 5 million of funding and doing 4 million of revenue. Like, I would prefer doing 2 million of revenue and getting no funding.
Exactly. Right? Fully agree.
But like a few years ago, it was not like this. And also VCs, or let's say investors, mainly VCs, they looked for revenue. Right.
Yeah.
And they looked for a big team. So kind of you were pushed by what the investors were looking for into one direction. Yeah. And I never understood this. And maybe there's someone who wants to explain it to me. I'm happy to learn. And I think there are also right steps, like if you're in the right field. But there are also fields, and I feel like the health sector often is a field where you have to grow slowly. Mm-hmm. Because people need to adapt, systems need to adapt, regulatories need to adapt, patients need to gain trust. Just to name one company, I don't want to name companies close by or in this ecosystem, but let's go to US. Like, there was a company raising $20 million on teledermatology. 4 years later, they were gone. Okay? So they you can spend 20 million easily on marketing and a big team.
Of course.
So you would never be proud on if you have to buy a house and you need to get a loan for a lot of money. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Or you have a project and you need double as many person than the other project doing the same. And that's why I like, and there's another podcast on this, I like going lean, going healthy, and growing with the market. And that's what we kind of made. And you still need money. You need money to pay some people. You need money to develop the software, so IT. So yes, you need some funds, but never raise more than you need.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense, right? In the initial phase, especially to build a software platform, you have quite some capital needs. Right now, what do you need capital for this next phase? Is it the scaling up phase, the growth phase?
Yes.
What will the company use the funds that you're currently looking for?
Yeah. So we have some strategic pillars where we want to invest in. So it's not about like getting this business we have like running. Yeah. Like that's also often the problem with these VC funded startups, that you kind of don't get your next goal, and then you need more money just to keep track.
Yeah.
So for us, it's like we have kind of a track, but there are ideas on the strategic side on where we could invest more to grow. Like one example is in the past, so we can talk about this, is the MDR, Medical Device Regulation certification. Yeah. So we decided on, it might be a good step for now, but also for what's coming next, to certify as a medical product. And I mean, that's very expensive. That's really expensive. And even though you're earning some money with your business, it's still very expensive. So getting some investment here to fulfill some regulatories that need to be done, but also to grow faster, that's where we look for, to also right now raising money for some similar projects right now.
Makes sense. Yeah. Are you open to disclose any revenue numbers or anything of that sort?
We're quite closed here. So I would leave it to what it is. Like we have a good revenue. We can, how to say, like look for our own. So right now we're in a stable business phase. After now these 5 years, you kind of want to get there where you earn the money you spend. Yep. That's what I can say. And that might also make it attractive for some investors to be in a stable phase, but to look for growth.
Yeah. So you're profitable, or at least cash flow positive.
Yeah. We were looking back to some profitable time. Yeah.
Very nice. That's a very good position to be in.
Yeah.
Big respect for that. Now, I also want to look a bit into the future. You mentioned you have an amazing Google rating. I think it's 4.9 stars. You work with more than 260 clinics, maybe even more by now. So what is the next phase for you? Do you want to expand across more geographies? Do you want to franchise or license the platform? What are the next steps for you to grow further?
I mean, we have some ideas on how to grow for sure. And for us, dermatology is like really the core. So I always get the question, so like, why not go to radiology or cardiology? And like, it always seems to be very easy, like to shift a derm image-based platform to a radiology image-based platform. But it's not. Like, it's not only about the technique. I think this would be, you're the software guy here, but this would be the easiest, like change a skin picture to a radiology picture. But all this ecosystem behind and like this really deep specialized platform within dermatology, this is where we want to go. And so there are two ways: establish deeper within the markets we are, and maybe to find some more geographically, like some more attractive markets. But Germany is a very big market. Switzerland is a very attractive market, and there are so many patients and there's so much need. I'm always, when I'm in presentations or conversations, like taking the example of online banking. If I would have asked you 15 years ago, have you ever tried online banking? Like, you would have said, no, I will never give my financial data on the computer, right? So if I would ask you now, like, what is the color of this sheet you have to bring to the bank, like to get some money? Like, I think most of the bank don't have it anymore.
Right.
But it took 15 years.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same what's happening here. We're still quite early. It's not standard, but it's getting more into the direction. Yeah. And we want to just follow, but also build this path.
I really like your focus, your sharp focus on, no, we do dermatology, we can expand geographically, but that's what we do. Because I feel many founders, they have this temptation. When you have a thing that works, instead of doubling down, they say, oh, now we do this and we add this. And then you build a very complex product and you lose all kinds of focus. And then your company goes in all directions, but it sort of falls apart. How do you resist this temptation? Because investors and people from the outside, they probably always say, oh, there's so much potential there in this market or in that market. How do you resist this temptation as a founder?
I mean, for you, it might sound like focusing on dermatology is really a focus. But if you're like for several years within this field, you feel like you can also lose direction just within the field of dermatology.
I imagine.
So just to give you an idea about this, and sure, this happens. It doesn't matter if you say like going to other countries or maybe focusing a little bit on some other project idea. So sure, this happens, and I think sometimes it's good and maybe even a strength, like to be adjustable. Still, focus is very important, and I always feel like ideas, it's not necessarily coming from myself that I feel, okay, now I have to go here, now I have to go here. I think I'm quite happy like the way we're going right now, but it's coming from other people. And sometimes you feel like, okay, this might be a good idea, and then it's very hard to understand like on how much you should follow this idea and where to say no. And you're right, like I think most of the time it's better to earlier say no. Also, looking back, like what we tried on things where I said before, I would have told to my own, but also to others, like this, I don't believe in it, but still we did it because I also believed in other visions, and it didn't work out.
But we as founders, we are optimists by nature, I feel. So it's difficult for us to say no.
Otherwise, life doesn't make sense. Yeah,
that's true. So what is your vision? Where do you want to take this? Like, do you think about getting acquired one day? Do you think about building a very profitable company and then maybe even do an IPO in the future? Yeah. What is sort of the end goal for you with your company?
I feel we're doing something really good for the society of dermatology, of dermatologists, of dermatological patients. So I think this is the main driver. No. So seeing like all these patients coming in and sending in the pictures, and sometimes I call some patient and they are like, I don't ask, but they're really happy. So this is the main goal for me as a founder. So if you would ask one or two people who gave me money, like investors, they also share this idea. For sure, they would be happy if they get some money out. And how this will happen, we'll see. So I think there are two options. I think there is place for a platform like this to really be sustainable and drive healthy, bootstrapped over the next years. I'm very sure. But I also see potential also for the company to grow faster if being within an ecosystem with other players. So there are big players and bigger players in the market. Maybe we don't know all of them by now. Yeah, there might some companies like, okay, this is where we want to go, or some big. We've seen this in the past now with some M&As in the US, so that they want to come to Europe. But again, here that's just saying something. Like there is not this one plan. I feel like there are different good opportunities, and for me, it's right now just believing in the product and going step by step.
That's super exciting. And also here you seem to have a very good focus. You focus on building a well-working and a valuable company. And if there are opportunities coming up that you don't even know about today, you can see then if you're in a good position of strength.
I think these opportunities, they came in the past, and I mean, in the end, you also have to hope they come again and again.
Right.
And I think that's also what you learn as a founder, like that you just cannot predict all the next steps. Yeah. And looking back to like 7, 8 years, 9 years, however you want to count, helps you a little bit to hope that it's coming okay for the next years. Yeah.
Does that mean that you already got acquisition offers in the past?
I mean, you always discuss on certain levels, but right now it was always the right thing to go where we went. Yeah.
Beautiful. And you continue that path. That's the most important.
Continue, and I'm very open, maybe also here to the listeners. I expect like entrepreneurial interested persons, but also maybe persons who are interested in digital health. Reach out. And we are open for discussions, in collaborations. But again, also here on funding, on what I was saying, like very strategic next steps. Yeah.
Amazing. Christian, that's a beautiful way to end the conversation. Thank you so much for your time, for sharing your fascinating journey, and I wish you all the best and lots of success for the future.
I thank you again very much for this invitation, and I really enjoyed it. Like this was very, very personal, but yeah, no, thanks a lot.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.